Everyone to the meeting. Can I remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded and streamed? Is there anyone remote?
No, there are no apologies and no one's joining remotely.
Thank you. Can I remind everyone that when you're asked to speak, you should turn on your microphone and then turn it off when you are finished. Item 2, members are asked to declare any disclosable pecuniary or effective interest in respect of any matter to be considered at this meeting. Any member with a disposable pecuniary interest in a matter should withdraw from the meeting when the matter is under consideration, should notify the Democratic Services Officer in attendance that they are withdrawing as they have such an interest. If the disclosable pecuniary interest is not entered on the register of members' interests, the monitoring officer must be notified of the interest within 28 days. Any member with an effective interest in the matter must disclose the interest to the meeting. There is no requirement to withdraw from the meeting when the interest is only an affected interest, but the monitoring officer should be notified of the interest, if not previously notified of it, within 28 days of the meeting. And can I remind anyone, if you think you have such an interest during the meeting, then you notify us immediately. Item 3. Has anyone got any declarations of interest at all? None? Thank you. Item 3, minutes. To consider and approve the minutes of the executive held on the 21st of March 2023. Can I have a move of... there was no one... Oh, I was here. No, that was not... They're all executives, so... we just move these as accepted because there's no executive here to move or second or disagree. So I will take them as a true record and we will move on to, I vote on these or we note them? We will note them because there's none of the members were here. Item 4. What's up? Yeah. Item 5 I've got here. Sorry. Item. Where am I? Item 4. Yeah, sorry. Getting here. Urgent items of business. Can I ask the clerk if you've got any urgent items of business?
No, none notified, Chair.
Well, thank you. That's all right then. Right, now we come on to item 5, which is the SEND Strategy 2023-2025. And can I please ask Gráinne Siggins to present this report? Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, colleagues. The report includes an update on our progress to implementing our written statement of action relating to SEND services. At the end of November, early December 2021, Ofsted and the Care Quality Commission undertook an inspection of our jointly delivered services for special education needs and disabilities in the borough. The inspection is a joint inspection with ourselves, Bracknell Forest Council, and our local health colleagues, which is now Frimley ICB. Following that, about a year ago, we formally agreed the written statement of action. It was progressed for agreement, and it's now regularly monitored by Department for Education and NHS England. So within the document, you'll see Q2 update. Obviously, we're now progressing towards Q3. There is some delay in the reporting timetable. When the written statement of action was signed off, we did agree that we would present quarterly updates to the Council's executive in terms of progress against the written statement of action. The report also indicates and includes a number of areas that we agreed to progress as part of the written statement of action, in that the development of a co-produced strategy for SEND. So the document itself is included in the pack and is a result of comprehensive work undertaken with a range of partners to produce a SEND strategy that identifies the key priorities that head teachers, parents, health colleagues and key officers have actually indicated are required in order to deliver the written statement of action. It does build on the written statement of action, but further supplements that content. So you should be able to see that through the body of the strategy. So we are commending and recommending that for approval at the executive tonight. Other actions that are included in the report are, again, demonstrate progress for our written statement of action, including delivering better value bid, which was to actually further develop a number of streams of work within the written statement of action, including our range of head teachers and a number of other partners, and that's again outlined in the report, and also provides an update on the SEND special school that we're hoping to develop with our DFE, Department for Education partners. And finally, the last item recommended is the investment of £350,000 in temporary support for the SEND admin team. That's a team who actually undertake the assessments and progress education, health and care plans annual reviews. It is understood that the team is woefully under-resourced to deal with what has been around a 44% increase in requests for education, health and care plans over the past 3+ years. So whilst we develop a sound business case for consideration as part of the budget setting process, we've identified temporary resource required over the next 6 months in order to advance at pace the progress, so we can improve communication and engagement with our parents, which is desperately needed at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Very full report. Thank you. Very comprehensive. Are there any questions, please?
Councillor Wright, thank you for your comprehensive update on the progress in implementing the written statement of action and the development of the SEND strategy. My question is, as the action plan is a joint plan with health, how are you ensuring that health colleagues continue to focus on reducing the waiting times for therapy assessments and access to child and adolescent mental health services?
Thank you. Very, very important question, and one that our parent carers are raising with us constantly. As part of the governance process for the implementation of the written statement of action, we set up a SEND Improvement Partnership Board. That board meets every 2 months, and we've recently agreed that the joint chair will be the executive director responsible for children and young people across the integrated care board for Frimley. So the person leading on children's services across our health colleagues. So she's going to co-chair that board with me. As part of the work within the written statement of action was to identify and develop and co-produce a dashboard, so performance indicators. Within that dashboard we have waiting times for occupational therapy assessments within that, and our parent carers have worked with us to actually identify the data set that they want to be monitored as part of that, and we receive a quarterly update from our health colleagues in terms of progress. Now, I think we fully accept that no waiting time should be in place. However, challenges again with recruitment across the South East, both through our therapy services, through health services, and our own teams have hindered the progress in terms of addressing the waiting times. And our health partners are trying to think creatively as to how they actually improve the triage. They have reduced their waiting times and their average waiting times for OT assessments over the past year.
Thank you.
Are there any? Councillor Bid.
Yeah, Councillor Bidwell, first of all, congratulations on such a thorough report. It was really, really good, and I know there's been some challenges. I'm especially excited about the potential of having a SEN hub within the borough. But my question is, and I didn't see it in the report, so forgive me if it's there, is that I know the biggest challenge is really recruitment. What sort of initiatives have you got, or solutions have you got in place to maybe cross-train or maybe bring resources from other traditional arenas?
Again, a really good question. We are constrained, as you know, in terms of capacity. What we've accepted is that there are some, so for example, the SEN team, being effective in customer service and being able to proactively communicate with our parents is one of the essential skills that people have. So whilst we can often teach the SEN code of practice, one thing we can't often support people is to be effective communicators. It does take more time and effort. So what we're trying to do is develop a thorough induction programme so that when we do go out to secure the staff going forward, we can have a whole training programme that our officer can go through very quickly, and then levels of support and supervision in terms of some of the casework and information. So we're trying to think creatively about the aspects of a role that we can teach versus those that are transferable skills but effective but do exist within a range of professions that people might go down.
Thank you very much. Is there any other question?
Thank you. One of the other things is it's important that young people with special educational needs are supported to achieve their life aspirations. How are you ensuring that our post-16 offer provides effective and supportive transition and access to opportunities? Thank you.
It is so important that our children and people are given as much support and advice for them to have to achieve their aspirations moving forward. So some of these children, young people in the past, we haven't always had the right advice at the right time to negotiate and support through the colleges the appropriate opportunities for learning and development. Often when children, young people don't get the sense support that they need, they're already disadvantaged because their learning outcomes and educational outcomes are lower than we'd ideally would have liked. So what we intend to do through some recent investment that we've secured is to ensure that our ability to support that next transition post-16 into education, volunteering opportunities, greater levels of vocational support, etc., and assisting those young people into understanding what they need to learn and do in order to be able to engage where possible into a life of work and aspiration. So some investment and support, but we do have a long way to go in terms of significantly improving that offer as we support those young people to transition into adulthood.
Thank you. Any other questions? None? Then can I ask, please, if someone will move the recommendations on page 9, 21, 22, 23 and 24?
Yes, Councillor Roy Bailey, I'd like to move those recommendations.
Is there someone who will second those recommendations?
Councillor Wright, I second those recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey, would you like to speak?
Yes, I would. Can I first say that, as everyone will know, SEND is one of the key targets of this new Labour administration, so I'm delighted to see this report. It's important that we are supporting the aspirations and achievements of all our children and young people within the borough. Supporting children with special educational needs and disabilities and their families is a key priority for this administration. I'm supporting the recommendations in the report this evening. I'm pleased to highlight the progress that has been made in moving forward the activity relating to the written statement of action. This includes the co-production of joint SEND strategy and clearly illustrates the aspiration of the Council, health colleagues, education leaders, parent carers and children and young people. The 5 priority areas are included in the strategy and build on the recommendations outlined within the written statement of action. This includes the work undertaken to secure the commitment from the Department for Education to build a new specialist autistic spectrum disorder, ASD, special school in the borough. This will enable more children from Bratton Forest to be educated in the borough within their local communities. It is now imperative that we advance a number of the areas at pace where difficulties in recruiting have prevented significant progress. Therefore, I wholeheartedly support the investment of £350,000 by this administration, as indicated, to ensure that the team are better equipped to provide responses to parents and others in a timely way. It is important the communication is improved, and I can't emphasise that enough. I ask that the executive, in paragraph 2.1, notes the progress made on implementing the SEND written statement of action to improve services to children and families, and the feedback received from the Department for Education and NHS England relating to the end of January 2023. Also ask that the executive notes in 2.2 the Council has secured £1 million through the government's Delivering Better Value in SEND programme, and in its bid to build a new specialist autistic spectrum disorder in brackets ASD special school in the borough to improve further inclusive local services for children and young people with SEND. I also ask the executive to approve 2.3 the release of £350,000 from the council's corporate contingency included in the 2023/24 budget to fund additional short-term staffing capacity within the SEND team to ensure momentum is maintained to deliver the identified service improvements. And finally, in 2.4, I asked the executive to improve the SEND strategy for 2023 to 2025 attached as an appendix to this report that has been developed through close working with professionals, parents and carers and young people to provide a clear direction for the service in the years ahead. Thank you, Chair.
Would the seconder like to speak?
Councillor Wright, I second the recommendation. Got no further comments.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to? I would just like to say this is a really detailed document, desperately needed, but it's there. Thank you. Councillor Bailey, would you like to wind up?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Improving services and opportunities for children and young people with SEND is a big priority. This additional funding will help secure extra staff in the Council's SEND team, as well as provide more training and improved processes. Progress is being made for children, young people and families with SEND, but we need this investment to make sure that we have the additional staff capacity to keep making tangible improvements, and that staff have access to training and development. We will continue to work towards providing excellent provision for SEND to ensure that all children in the borough achieve the best possible outcomes. Thank you.
Ask if the members of the executive will raise their hand if they're in favour of and support these recommendations. Please raise your hand, all those in favour. Are there any against? Then that is unanimous. Thank you very much. We then move to item 6. I'd be better at maths than this. Right, the Financial Hardship Action Plan update, and we go to Katie Flint, the officer in charge of this, to give our report. Katie, welcome, and can you give your report, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Leader. Thanks very much, and good afternoon, everyone. So this paper sets out an overview of the current financial hardship support that's available to our residents locally. Much of this is being coordinated through the Cross-Council Financial Hardship Action Plan, which has been in place since last autumn. So we've already made some progress on a number of the original actions, and there is a wide range of existing support available. So we're working very much to try and improve the ways to connect this to residents who need it within the community. And this includes national schemes as well as local initiatives. So this paper also specifically includes proposals that we're asking you to endorse today. So these include a number of activities that we would like to accelerate over the coming months, but also a number of new actions that we'd like to extend where we've got existing support in place. So many of the actions focus on activities that are directly within the community. This is taking quite a proactive approach to make sure that we are contacting residents and trying to get the support to those that need it the most. The activities included within the report include things like hosting an information and support event within the town centre, engaging more closely with schools and promoting the availability of social tariffs for broadband. There's a number of things included within the report that we propose. But we also recognise as a new administration that you will want to review the current action plan that we have in place, particularly ahead of this coming winter this year. So it's also suggested within the report that this is reviewed initially by the Members' Welfare Group and then by executive formally later on in the autumn. So just to summarise today, we're asking that you endorse the initiatives that are proposed within the paper and also to review the action plan later in the year. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions?
Yes, Councillor Neal, I'd like to ask a question, please. Thank you. Is that on? Yeah. Thank you, Katie. So thank you very much for that. It's such an important piece of work, and I think very much in the vein of what this Labour administration wanted to stand for. So absolutely delighted to be able to support this going forward. Just a couple of questions from me, if possible. So how many people locally qualify for this support and how can they access it? So making sure that we're publicising what is available. And how are we working with the many amazing local organisations that are also supporting people going through hardship? Thank you.
So two big questions there. I'll split them out and answer the first one that you asked initially around people accessing support. So I think the first thing to say is that there are a huge range of different schemes that are available locally, and that's good because it means we can reach a wider range of people, but it also means that there's a number of different routes that people can access it through. So a few of those routes, just to mention them now, are things like our free school meals, supermarket vouchers. So we know that there's over 2,000 children that will be receiving supermarket vouchers to cover over the summer holiday period, but also the holiday periods over the coming few months as well. And that's distributed directly through their schools, so they don't need to apply for that if they already receive free school meals. And another example of support is we know that the national scheme around cost of living payments, so that will be £900 going to households over this full year. Households who are in receipt of a number of benefits like universal credit or pension credit will be again receiving this automatically, so they don't need to apply. There's over 6,500 households within the borough that will be receiving that support, so it's a really wide-reaching scheme, that one. But we also recognise that that won't be everyone that does need support, and there'll be a number of people who aren't qualifying for benefits that are still low income and still struggling. So we earmarked within the Household Support Fund for this financial year a specific proactive support that we would be able to provide to those low income households who don't quite qualify for the benefits nationally, but we know through some of the local data sets that we've got that they are still low income. So that'll be a further 1,200 households that will contact in the late autumn period to provide that direct support. And then finally, just want to mention is that, again, we really don't want people slipping through the gaps. So we've also got in place our local welfare scheme, and that provides real emergency crisis support to households who may need real short-term assistance there. So again, you don't need to be in receipt of benefits to apply for that. There's a lot more information on our website and the application form that households can access there. We'll come on to talk about the community groups and partners, but again, they're supporting a huge number of households within the borough. But the final thing I'd say in terms of routes to find support and how to access it, we've tried to bring together a huge amount of local information around local support, national support, all on our website. So we've got a cost of living support page, and I'd always recommend that as the first place where residents have a look to see what they might be able to access and to find how they can access it as well. And then just to come on to your second question around local organisations, as you say, there are a huge number of absolutely fantastic local organisations that are already helping a wide range of our residents with everything from food, warm clothing. There's a lot that they are really fantastic at helping with. So we've already worked with them in a number of different ways, and I think our key approach is trying to work together with them and maximise the resources that we have got and try and reach those different communities that are local to us. So we worked with them last year to support the setup of a voluntary community and faith sector forum that was specifically focused around financial hardship. So that's been a really good opportunity to help bring all of these organisations together so that everyone can share their experiences, share their learning, try and connect and as I say, make the most of the resources that we have got. But again, we also allocated 150,000 within the Household Support Fund this financial year, specifically to be able to offer as grants to the local organisations. So we've had an application process where organisations can request support with when they're helping residents with food and energy costs. So we've had a number of applicants and we'll be finalising that funding that will be going out in the coming months. But they're a real asset within our community and we're really keen to try and continue that work and build on that in the coming months and years.
Thank you, Katie. Are there any other questions?
Yes. Councillor Biddle, that was great, Katie, and I can only echo what my colleagues have said about how important it is, especially for this administration, for this to move forward quickly. I was particularly delighted to see the initiative for Princes Square, because although we have many residents complaining about hardship, and we can point them in the direction of internet pages and documentation, quite a few of them can't do this. And I think if we could move forward with having these sort of initiatives, I think it will demonstrate how much we care about the community and also provide a much needed route to getting much needed funding. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I want to move this myself, Councillor Mary Temperton. I think, having listened to Katie, I would like to thank you and all your team for all the work you've done on this. I've been very proud to be in... Sorry? Is there a seconder for this motion?
Councillor Jeffries. I, Councillor Jeffries, would like to second the recommendations.
Into full flight, okay. So thank you, Katie. I'll say it all again because it can't be said often enough, but thank you for your team and all you've done for this huge initiative and all the people that you've got involved and finding the computer program that made all this really possible. It's in the other report, but LIFT has done so much to give us information to help those that would not really come forward on their own account. I have been very proud to be part of this, and I think we have to admit that a lot of this has already been planned, but because of your initiative and the fact that we now have to, according to Keir Starmer, have immediate call for new Labour councils to act to the cost of living crisis and to make an improvement within the first 100 days, you've really accelerated the pace. And again, as Councillor Bidwell said, you're taking this out into the community, which is a real priority for us, to take the council out into the community and to talk to people and to help them in the streets and in their houses. This is a priority for us, and it's confirmed that you'll be providing supermarket vouchers right the way through now until Easter 2024, so we don't have to fight that battle either. So I think it is really important that we recognise all that has been achieved for the vulnerable people in Bracknell Forest, but this is not going to go away. So the fact that 2.2 says that we're going to look at the financial hardship action plan with report back to executive in autumn ahead of winter 2024 is really important. And I fully endorse the planned and accelerated initiatives set out in 5.4 to address the cost of living challenges to be delivered within the next 3 months. And I thank you for all you've done. I move. Would like to speak?
Councillor Jeffries, I'd like to reserve.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak? Would you like to speak now, Councillor Jeffries? No, then there's nothing really I want to wind up. I've wound up twice really in the first one without so I think I've said enough and everybody knows how valuable this is. So I move, well, all those in favour of moving these recommendations, please show by raising your hands. Thank you, that is unanimous. We then go on to item 7, the quarter 4 councillor plan overview report. Again, we have this to be presented to us by Katie. So she is there. So can you please present this report?
Thank you very much, Leader. So this second paper that we're presenting to you today is the Council Plan Overview Report for quarter 4. So this is our quarterly report on the progress that's being made against the Council Plan commitments. It is based on our current plan. This Q4 report is based on our current Council Plan whilst we're in development of the transition onto the new council plan. So whilst I appreciate it doesn't align directly with the commitments made by yourselves as part of the election, it does provide an interim overview of performance for you. It reports both on the annual projects but also the numerical KPIs, so you'll see both of those within the report. The report covers a huge number of achievements within the Q4 period, so that January to March period, including things like the Excellent School Performance Achievement and also the Digital Services Award. It also includes some of our key challenges, so things like continued budget pressures, staff retention pressures in specific services, and also the Council's ongoing work with the Heathlands Dementia Care Service. Just to flag as well, from Q1 onwards, the process will include the review by overview and scrutiny before the final recommendations are made to yourselves executive. We will be refreshing the content for Q1 to reflect the transition service plans, again in the period up until the new council plan is agreed. So you'll see that in the Q1 report. That's all just to summarise on that one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Hello, yes. Thank you very much for a very detailed report. My question is regarding the Heathlands Dementia Care site. It's been noted as a challenge. I was just wondering if we'd been able to work with the service provider to make progress on the improvement there. And what? Thank you.
I think this will be answered by Gonya Siggins. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Again, a really good question. We are desperately waiting for their reinspection. So the indication is there has been a change of focus and change of leadership within the provider, and our colleagues have been monitoring and receiving evidence, and the indication is that there is significant progress in the implementing the improvement plan that they've been working towards. So we're hopeful that the reinspection will produce a more positive outcome.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Bid.
Well, yeah, it was really a follow-on from my colleague, Councillor Megan Wright. We know this is a really big deal in the borough. Heathlands Dementia Care needs to work well, and it hasn't. With a change of service provider, when will that take place?
There won't be a change of service provider.
I thought that's what you said.
It's the same. No, the same service provider is going to be re-inspected.
Re-inspected.
So we've been working with that service provider to undertake a programme of improvements.
Service improvement.
So ourselves and our health colleagues. The initiative remains a really important initiative for the borough, so that we can provide dementia care locally in the borough. The additional floor with the intermediate care service as well is significant enhancement for discharge from hospital. So hopefully when we've got the facility up and running and more effective, we'll be able to increase the number of people who are living there in their local communities.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I noticed in the report that we have very low rates of homelessness, but I also noticed that the rates of homelessness prevention have gone down, and I was just wondering what that means and what's been done about that. Thank you.
Councillor, Gonya Siggins again. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that, yes, thank you, Leader. In terms of homelessness, obviously it remains a challenge with the current external environment and the changing people living in the borough. Homeless prevention remains a priority for us, but as with some of the other services, we have had some challenges in relation to staffing within the team. Going forward, we are hoping to think through how we can increase the offer for homeless prevention as part of the digital offer that we're currently thinking about. So increased number of people can get more of a proactive offer digitally for prevention. So in terms of the access to homeless support, that continues. It has put some strain, and the welfare service is also providing support for people who are homeless on prevention, especially for those who have been given notice to quit. So it's a range of support, it's not just that one service currently in place.
Is there any other questions? I would like to move this, page 67, to, recommendation 2.1. Is that seconded?
Councillor Purnell, I'd like to second that, please.
Thank you. I would just like to thank the officers for all the work in putting this together and the innovation and commitment really over the last quarter, and to celebrate the fact that this will now go to overview and scrutiny before it comes to the executive in the future, because I think that's a really important move, so that the overview and scrutiny get a look at it and then they make recommendations and then it can come to the executive. There are many things in there that I think we can actually comment on and celebrate. I think we have to look at the exceptional performance of all our schools, and that requires huge congratulations to the governors, the teachers, and all the parents that are involved as well. It's always a triage, and it's always a huge force working together to get such excellent performances. We do have challenges with SEN, but that's been met, and it is being met, and it will go on for a while, but hopefully we will get very good positive reports before long. The next council plan, which will focus on our commitments and priorities from the election, and this will shape the performance reports later in the year, and that report will probably be presented in October, so there's time to build on that. I would like to say that I actually thought it was a good celebration really when there were 5 social workers, care workers, left being agency workers and became full-time permanent workers for the Bracknell Forest Council, because that is so much better for children and everybody else, adults, to tell their story once and to keep telling different people. It's interesting, the introduction of chatbots to respond to residents' inquiries. We'll see how that goes, because I can't stand the thing, but it'll be interesting. Some must love them. And also the LIFT programme, which I talked about before, because I think most of them, you really should, if we all read it, we realise that one resident alone was entitled to £6,000 of underpayment because of the being found and helped support. Well, that sort of support has gone to so many. So it really is important, all this work that's been ongoing for all our residents. So I would like to move recommendation 2.1, page 67. Would anyone else like to speak? Would the seconder like to speak?
No, thank you.
Then I don't think I need to wind up, because I've said enough. So will you raise your hand if you're in favour of this recommendation, please? All those in favour, unanimous, thank you very much. We now go on to item 8, the item 8, the strategic procurement plan of Uplarden Way development, and this will be Kamei here. I'm looking at the screen, but you're here now, so Kamei to. Thank you.
Chair.
Oh yeah, I've got to do that. Right, wait a minute. Where is it? Come on, friend. Oh yeah, agenda, that's right. Good. Right, before we do this, I have to move exclusion of the press and public. Agenda item 8 is supported by an annex containing exempt information as defined in Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. If the committee wishes to discuss the content of this annex in detail, it may choose to move the following resolution. That pursuant to Regulation 4 of the Local Authorities Executive Arrangements, Access to Information Regulations to 2012, and having regard to the public interest, members of the press and public be excluded from the meeting for the consideration of item 9, which involves the likely disclosure of exempt information under the following category of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. Now, is there anyone who wishes to discuss the financial arrangements in that part of the documentation? Is there anyone? Then there is no need to ask any of the public to go for this item. Item 8, Strategic Procurement Plan Uplarden Way Development. But I will be very careful that we don't actually creep into those financial papers. So can I ask, please, Kameh, if you would please present the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. The Council has a small stock of temporary housing to meet the needs of our homeless families, and currently there is a lack of 1 and 2 and 3. And currently there is a lack of 1 and 3 bedroom units. This development, subject to securing planning approval, will deliver up to 7 units, 2 3-bedroom townhouses and 4 1-bedroom flats at affordable rents for the use as temporary accommodation for homeless households, and will be a council-led project. This paper is seeking approval to commence the procurement process to commission a single organisation to act as the main contractor to construct up to 7 units and auxiliary works. The timeline for the procurement process and delivery of the units are set out under item 5.3, which is page 104 in your papers, with a preferred bidder and the contract award report to be approved during March 2024, and the scheduled completion of the construction works are scheduled for May 2025. The procurement process will be a 2-stage restricted process. Therefore, in summary, this report is seeking approval from this group to endorse the 2 recommendations set out in your paper. Thank you, Chair. Happy to take any questions.
Is there anyone? Any questions? No questions. Can I ask for someone to move recommendations 2122, page 103?
I, Councillor Wright, would like to move the recommendations set out within the report.
Is there a seconder for this?
Councillor Paul Bidwell, delighted to second this.
Thank you. Councillor Wright, move the recommendation.
I'd like to speak to the recommendation, say that this proposal is urgently needed as there is a shortage of 1 and 3 bedroomed accommodation within the borough. Thank you.
Councillor Bidwell, would you like to speak?
Just to mirror what Councillor Wright has said, the only shame of it is it won't come on stream until May 25. By the time I suspect we'll have more homelessness, but very good anyway. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Would like to wind up?
I, Councillor Wright, would like to move the recommendations set out on page 103 of the agenda.
All those in favour, will you show by raising your hand, please? Thank you. That is unanimous. We then move on to item 9, and this exclusion of press and public and press, and that pursuant to Regulation 4 of the Local Authorities Executive Arrangements Access to Information, Regulations 2012, and having regard to the public interest, members of the press and public be excluded from the meeting for the consideration of item 10, which involves the likely disclosure of exempt information under the following category of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. Number 3, information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. Can I ask then, therefore, for the press and the public to please leave the chamber? Thank you.